But at any rate, the rest of the...
So for every store you're going to tell me, I'll put something in your store. So together we can write a book.
Right.
All right? And Mr. Sinatra, I want to tell you something. This is all joking, you know.
But the club thing, you know, this is all about, you know, now, who controlled the clubs. So after Sinatra has his little success, he sends a beautiful note and a check for $5,000 to this old Goomba in Boston saying, thanks very much, things are great for me. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it to Boston. And Skinny got in touch with Sinatra and he said, Frank, you don't understand.
Oh yeah, it's not you.
You're going
to Boston.
So that's where it ties in with nightclubs. Like, who were the guys who ran the nightclubs and who were the entertainers who in movies played like they were those guys, but they really weren't, which is what I'm getting at about...
Well, very interesting, because apropos to that story,
okay.
I'm in Chicago and I was both working in show business and going to junior college. And I was working in a place called the Cuban Village, and I worked for the people you're talking about. And these guys, when they're born, the doctor does not hit them in the ass when they're born to make them cry. They hit them in the throat. So they all talk like that, you know? So I'm working for these guys, and we got 49 hostesses in the place, and, you know, we're getting just guys coming in, drinking, and sitting with these girls and everything else. And I finally went to the bosses, and I said to the guys running it, I said, I got to get out of here. I'm not learning anything, and it's no good for me. You open your mouth one time, another time, it's $10 off your salary. So I figured they're joking, and I said, I want to get out, and it was $10 off my salary. And this went for about 6 weeks like that until I came to work, and somebody had died in the club, and they finally closed the club up. But they did do things like that, and they did threaten you. If you were young, you were frightened of these things. As the years went on, and these guys, nightclubs began to close, and these guys did not have the power anymore that they had, you know. But we grew up fearing that Sinatra learned to fear him, I learned to fear him. But to me, they were always a joke. I mean, I got beat up by him and everything else, but they were like a joke. To me, it was a movie. When I was in 2.5 years aboard an aircraft carrier shooting at the Japanese and the planes were diving at us, I thought it was a John Wayne movie. I swear to God, I was waiting for, you mean to tell me you didn't shoot that little yellow bastard down yet? Everything was fantasy in my mind. And most show people, it's the same thing. They live in that unreal world, you know? So if somebody says, that girl's anorexic. Oh, you kid, she's not anorexic. She just doesn't like to eat, you know? We hide, we hide, we have different phobias, we have different neuroses. We're not normal. Like, would I be saying the things that I'm saying on this television if I was normal?
Well, great stories like everybody played. Did you play the 500 Club?
No, I didn't even play. It was $4.99, marked down. No, I didn't. You know something? I was from the Midwest, and I didn't want to go east. I was not that I was successful. I really didn't get into show business. I was in it for 20 years, and I always told people I was still going to school.
Well, you know, when I sat one night with Dean when I was doing the Jerry show, and we talked for hours over dinner. And he told me that the only thing he would never ever forgive Jerry Lewis for was saying that he had gotten him into the 500 Club when in fact Dean had come from the Shea Paris as a favor into the... Now, Dean told me that Skinny D'Amato would watch the stage, and sometimes like somebody had come from Hollywood, kind of thought he was pretty hot stuff. He said one night Mickey Rooney came, thought he was still a big star. He does 10 minutes and he walks off the stage, but he walks right into Skinny, and Skinny is like, get back up. You see? You know,
oh, Mickey was going to walk off.
Yeah, because he was finished. He figured they've had enough. I'm a big star. And so, I mean, did you notice that they ran those clubs?
Oh yes.
They watched their business. They
watched their business, but they cared about their customers, which is not happening in Vegas today. People, you know, it's just numbers today, volume, but they don't care about the customers. It's next. You're not Mr. Smith or Mr. Jones. You're next. Next! I mean, Vegas is it's a circus town now. There's no such thing as nightclubs. We don't have nightclub performers. We got all the shows in Vegas are magicians. I'm the first one that did magic in Las Vegas. Nobody remembers because I made my whole audience disappear. But brum boom, brum boom.
Shecky, what about, can you give me your comments on the various movie stars who would come to Vegas to try to put an act together because they could make so much money in those early days? You know, like when
Marlene Dietrich.
Well, no, not great stars, but more like the starlets like Deborah Paget.
Jane Mansfield.
And Marilyn Maxwell, who actually brought like the tiger out on stage.
Yeah, but Marilyn Maxwell she wasn't that stature. She didn't have that much stature as a big star. Marilyn Maxwell, her who happened to be one of the nicest ladies I've ever known in my life. She worked with Bob Hope a lot, you know, and she did a lot of movies, but she didn't have that name value. But she at least could sing a little bit. Jane Mansfield came I mean, we always consider Jane Mansfield a beauty, but she worked at Tropicana. In Jewish, we have flanken. You know, the women have flanken hanging from their arms. She had flanken from the arms, she had it from the legs. I mean, it was the most unattractive thing that I've ever seen in my life. The bubbles sticking out of the cellulite, the bubbles sticking out of the, you know, this, whatever she was.
But I mean, as somebody who was the
Wait, I haven't finished talking about her yet. No, I'm joking. Go ahead.
But I mean, as somebody who was a consummate nightclub performer, what was your reaction to people coming down? I mean, they were coming down because they could get more money if they could click in Vegas.
You know why? Yeah, but they had no act when they used to do theaters. You know, before nightclubs, before Vegas. There were vaudeville, and those stars used to go out into vaudeville, do the same thing. They would have little routines written, but people just wanted to see the stars. That's what television is today. Television, there's not really the talent. Very few people judge by the talent. They don't say Ellen DeGeneres is a great talent. She's gay, you know, but boom, that's the label. Roseanne is obnoxious, you know, wealthy obnoxious now. But today, television is what vaudeville used to be. So consequently, they would just come because they saw them on that big screen and they wanted, you know, to see these people. They didn't have to do anything.
But I heard most of them flopped at things.
Whether they flopped or they didn't flop, they weren't going back there time after time. And if somebody did well, they brought them back the second time. They would go there to get their 15, 20, 25,000, and that's it. That's what agencies do. That's not the performer doing that. That's a little agent with a little humpback going, you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to put this girl in there. I'll put in Jane Mansfield, and Mickey Haggerty will walk on. Her husband will walk on, and he'll pick her up. Okay, that'll be the finale. All right, George? George? Well, yeah, George. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing in the world. But that's what they came to see.
Esther Williams, she'd stand there in a bathing suit, and the guys would, like, throw the water on her.
Yeah, well, Esther Williams was, I don't remember her coming to Vegas. I guess she did. But it's a strange thing that people were happy just to see these people. Sure, they didn't applaud and they didn't get standing ovations and things like that, but they saw what they wanted, you know.
But the great stars would come all the time, like Judy Garland. I've seen lots of footage of Judy Garland in Vegas.
Yeah, Judy Garland would never finish an engagement, but she would come a lot, you know, just finishing that first engagement. They would keep on bringing her back, hoping that she would finish that original 2 weeks, so it took 11 and a half years. Boom! And Liza, you know, we say that the apple don't fall far from the tree. Liza, who to me is one of the biggest, I would love to get her and just slap her little ass and say, it's enough already, you know? Your mother did what she had to do, but you are not your mother. You are Liza Minnelli. And I can't see any of these kids living in sure, a lot of them make it because the names, but Liza is a very productive little girl.
Let me ask you.
And Mickey Rooney, getting back to him.
Oh, God.
Mickey Rooney used to,